The Bastard Movie Archives, Hangover, with Andy and Max. You never asked for it.
I'm still drinking.
Yeah, me too.
I still need a drink.
Max is still drinking after seeing that movie. So, hey, welcome to the Bastard Movie Archives.
The Hangover.
The Hangover, where we talk about what we just saw and then pitch it to you.
Yeah.
So you will
Why?
Go see
if
it
you
too.
haven't watched it or watched us watching it, why you should.
I'm Andy Steinhauer,
And I'm Max Weiland.
and this is The Hangover. Max, do you want to tell us about the intro to Shocking Asia? Because I don't think it was very shocking.
The intro to Shocking Asia wasn't shocking at all. It was just it was a bunch of books on Asia with a narrator talking about mysterious Asia and how. But it had they peppered in witchcraft, which were all Western witchcraft books, which threw me for it just didn't fit.
I think it was meant. It might have been shocking to parents of children of that time, like
in 1974.
In 1974, when this came out, that maybe witchcraft in Asia were basically the same thing.
Now, this thing is supposedly a documentary, but keep in mind that IMDb lists this as an indie film / horror.
Right.
It does not list it as a documentary.
Yeah.
Even though it was made. So the making of this is very odd. From what I've been able to decipher, I guess maybe I should talk about how I found it.
Well, let's go. Let's summarize it a little more.
Yeah,
because
okay, so
I think So you've got the intro with these books, and we're not very shocked yet. And then we go to was it India?
It was mostly
Myanmar.
Yeah, Myanmar. So it bounces around a lot, but the first half seems to be focused very concisely on like a body horror that, and anywhere body horror seems to take place in like sort of public festivals, and that it seems like they're focusing sort of like on Eastern Asia, mostly. So India, Myanmar, where else was it? Did they ever go to Thailand? I kept thinking they did, but
with the Ladyboys.
I thought that was in Singapore.
Was that Singapore?
I think he said it was Singapore.
Okay.
So I think that a lot of it was spent like Singapore, India, Myanmar, and then some of the island, like some of the more obscure island cultures with like the monkeys.
But we're in Myanmar, and they're on some sort of like religious hike.
Yeah,
where they're piercing.
Yeah, it's like it's like when you get your adrenaline up and you're kind of like in a trance. It's like self-induced trance, and you're putting like needles through essentially places in your body that are that heal very quickly. And there's not a lot of blood, so things through your cheeks that go through just the skin.
And I guess that's just not very shocking to us today, because piercing is much more normal than
So piercing, like people pierce their cheeks, people pierce very odd parts of their body nowadays, but back in the 70s, that was probably, you're watching people put spikes through their cheeks and stuff, and you're like, holy shit, how is this happening?
And I did learn from this movie that if I ever have an infection, all I need to do is rub the ashes of my dead relatives on it, and that'll...
Yeah, that protects you from evil spirits.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
The ashes of dead relatives. Again,
not too shocked by that.
Yeah, it's morbid, but it's not... It's actually not even that unsanitary if they're properly cremated.
You've never sprinkled the ashes of your dead relatives on yourself? You've never done that?
Not on myself. I mean, I've hit the wind. It's like Big Lebowski.
Yeah, I don't like to buy soap. So whenever I need to wash myself, I just make sure that I have another dead relative.
Yeah, fuck antiseptics, man. You get it. Or fuck sanitation. We'll just do.
But that wasn't too shocking. And then the first time I was shocked. A little bit shocked. I was thoroughly Asia'd. The first time I was a little bit shocked. I
think we're all thoroughly Asia'd by that.
Was when we were in India, and they had some clips of decomposing bodies.
Right. Well, that's normal. Yeah, I mean that's like Faces of Death. I guess I wasn't too shocked too much by. I mean, I've seen a lot of that shit though, so it just doesn't.
Yeah.
But that's definitely the most like raw it gets, I guess, in a way, where you are just looking at half-composed dead bodies that really do have to do with sort of the poverty issues and culture issues in India. So it's, there's serious problems with the caste system and poverty. So watching these people try to like burn their partially.
How rather than address any of that, the movie just like points at them and laughs.
Yeah, it's
like,
very fucked up. Like I mean, I get it. I get like coming from the West. So the caste system is, so a lot of the poverty they're showing there is from the untouchables, the people that can't get jobs. Because the caste system, you've been reincarnated into this caste, and you will maintain it. If you live to what this caste is supposed to live to, you in the next life have a possibility of being born into a better caste, or moving up or down the chain.
Sure.
In a way. So they definitely don't really care about understanding the sort of cultural elements that exist in India, why poverty is as bad as it is there. They're just sort of like, what kind of fucking assholes like would do, which is funny because like we're essentially doing the same thing. It's just in a more abstract sort of like
sure. You work at McDonald's. You don't deserve a living wage.
Yeah,
you
fuck
bastard.
you. You're obviously lazy. If you worked, it's the same bullshit. But.
Well, good. We're drawing parallels. We're understanding one another. Good. That's what this film's all about. Right? It's about understanding other cultures.
Like the disparity. So there's a disparity between narrators. So there's two narrators, and there's probably multiple reasons for why this exists. So this movie was originally made by a German film crew, and it was later recut. Or as far as I can tell, I mean, there's not a lot of history. You can't track a lot, but I have a feeling there were two narrators. One narrator, there's the original narrator, and the second one that probably for an American release was released. My guess is the liberal guy was probably for the American release. That's my guess.
One guy really, he didn't talk, he didn't move his mouth much. He kind of sounded like this, and he kind of hated everything.
Oh yeah, well, he sounded like he was talking with his eyes closed the whole time. And like we kept joking about how it was like Mad Men style. Like he had to, because there were parts as the story went on where he was getting fed up with what he was talking about. Like he was just like, fuck these barbarians. Like it got real. Like
the only thing missing from the audio track was like the clinking of the scotch glass with a couple rocks in it,
or like when he just flat out called them fakers. He's just like these fucking fakers with the cobra or the snake charmers.
Snake charmers. These fakers play there. Yeah. He was not having it.
Yeah, he was definitely not having it.
I like to think that that's the guy they hired. And then halfway through, he just
quit. That's the story I wanted to write about. The story, the story I wanted to write about is that originally it was him the whole time, and halfway through, he just walked out and was just like, we're gonna bomb these fuck, bomb them all, just get rid of them, like they're fucking the worst. Pretty much what your angry grandpa is saying about the Middle East right now, like that kind of just fuck these people.
And then they went to like the local college,
and got a liberal arts guy because but notice how they cut to counteract what he's saying though.
Yeah.
So like he's saying like we need to understand, or like what was it, the garbage thing where he's like transcending ideologies or utilizing like spiritual practices to transcend, but like and transcend the worldly garbage, and then it shows them cleaning up all the garbage from the festival, and I was like, what do you like? That's like some creative editing where they're just still like, fuck these people.
Well, you can't, I mean, the liberal arts guy, you can't make it actually sound like any of this stuff is like legitimate or like something that like people with like thoughts in their head could actually do. So you gotta cut away from that.
And notice it was a double whammy between like sort of like Christian ideology mixed with like psychology almost. Like they kept like double whammying it where they're just like, if it was convenient to criticize them from like a Christian point of view, they would do that, and then if it wasn't, they would just criticize them from a psychology point of view, where it was just like, oh, this is just the placebo effect, like doing that sort of thing, which I mean could very well be the true, that we know
the so-called placebo,
right? Oh yeah, that's right. So like, but it was so confused. It never was just like, because it's like the fucking witchcraft thing at the beginning is setting it up. It's setting it up that it's they're possessed by the devil. This is witchcraft, and it further supports like, so the film's kind of broken up in two halves. So after we move on from
the body
horror in Eastern Asia, we go into
we have like corpses and
it just
celebrations,
general just. It's like really, morbidity.
It's really macabre, stuff that like you might have actually watched in school.
Yeah, sure.
Like the first half of this is not too shocking, and it's, aside from like the subtle racism, I mean, not too subtle in this day and age, but like,
yeah, it's for the 70s it would have been subtle. Nowadays it's racist.
The second half where you get into the sex stuff is really when it starts to get pretty obvious.
My favorite thing is it just gets full blown. It doesn't just go into the sex stuff. It gets like they go to like obviously the sex museum in Japan and things like that. So but some of it gets like borderline. It's just exploitation cinema. I'm pretty sure it was stage scenes and goes exploitation. Now the ladies with male part, which I believe was Singapore, if I remember correctly, and I just remembered. I know we're like summing up the movie, so I had seen this before. Mm-hmm. I have this on VHS. I don't know if I should admit that.
You shouldn't.
But there was a part that I don't remember seeing in this watch, and I don't think, did we see the Hitler show?
No.
Oh wow, that's weird. See, because there's in the VHS copy I have, there's a where they actually show a fucking Nazi themed fetish party.
We missed a scene with a Nazi fetish party?
I think so, because I just now remembered that was a scene in the first one.
Now it's entirely possible, Max Weiland, that
needs to be an extra bit. We have to like add that bit and just be like, hold on, wait, we gotta watch the Nazi fetish.
Well, that you might be confusing this movie with some of the other horrible shit that you've been known to watch. I gotta throw that out there.
So I'm the one who usually finds these terrible things.
No, I watch like I'm a big fan of the Indiana Jones movies. Like that's as
well. We're
as
all big
crazy.
fans of that,
right? Yeah. But I'm a little more vanilla. Right? I'm missionary, and Max Weiland, as far as films are concerned, is like
75% through the Kama Sutra at this point in terms of fucked up things I've dug up.
Stuff that doesn't even really work, like the hanging fish monkey. So I guess, what are we talking about?
So let me talk about. I guess I'll figure out how I came across this. So I found out about this movie. I was back visiting family, and it's a small town in Wyoming. And by small, I mean there's like 150 people in this town. And so,
where Asia would be very shocking.
Yeah, where Asia would be super shocking. And so anyway, there's this little like shop that has like people like donate videotapes and things like that, movies, to be sold. And it's kind of like the little arts area of that town because they're trying to like make it a little arts area. And just so you know, this is a part of Wyoming that is like particularly liberal. It's probably why there's only 150, 100 so odd people in here. So it's super liberal, and for Wyoming, and so I'm in there. My mom does a lot of stuff there, so I'm in there and I'm looking at movies, and I see this movie called Shocking Asia, and it's on VHS. And so, it's like $1. It's this old VHS copy, so I buy it, and I'm like, all right, we'll go watch it. So my brother and I get together and drink a bunch of beer, and now we notice it's paused, like it's stopped at a certain point. It's not at the beginning or the end, that there is a part that it is stopped at. So we were like, okay, we're going to put this in, and we're going to find out what part stopped. So we had two theories. We had it's Shocking Asia, and there's a bunch of really racist, fucked up things written on the back. Like, I actually wish I had brought it with me so I could read the back. I'm sure I could probably Google it, and you could see the picture. But, like, it was like, witness acts of barbarism and terror. Like, it's just really fucked up shit. So, like, so we put it in, and I'm like, all right, let's see what part caused someone to stop, or was the commonly viewed part. This was the only part they watched. We pressed play, chicks with dicks. That was it. That was the part that we saw. It was, like, right on the part where it was the ladies with the penises. And so
somebody went and got that film, brought it home to their family.
Now, I found out who donated that.
Donated?
It was the mayor of Encampment, Wyoming, who donated that movie.
Wait. So was there like some sort of ledger, like a library ledger or something?
Of who donated these movies.
Wow.
So it was the previous mayor. I think he's passed by now. But he had donated.
Well, he was so shocked.
But it was a part. Well, he had passed
Asia.
Before it was donated. It was donated as a part of he had passed, and they were clearing out a bunch of stuff.
In my mind, I like to think that the moment he saw Ladyboy, he had a heart attack.
Like, no, well, I think he owned this for a while. So, like, part of me is like, he watched it up until Lady Dick, and that was when he was so disgusted he turned it off. But the part of me that I wish happened was that was his secret fetish.
Yeah.
Like, that was the thing that he watched over and over and over again.
He didn't need one of those old rewindy devices because he just had to rewind it a little bit.
He just wanted to jerk off to the chicks with, ladies with penises.
Which I like to think also that maybe some young men got this film as like an educational thing, and then they saw that, and young men in the 70s when porn was not readily available, they might feel a little amorous once they started seeing the intro, because they don't introduce the fact that they have penises until like several minutes into it.
So they say that they call it the problem. They call it the problem. That's what the narrator calls it. All the women refer to the problem. Oh, tangent, but how awesome was it right before they talk about the problem when the guy is like, all these ladies were charming and wonderful. We can attest to that. And I'm like, wait, are you what? Like,
they can attest. The film crew had some fun.
This is Sex Village. I'm assuming that's just, and they call it Sex Village.
They call it Sex Village. Yeah, they literally say that's the name of the place.
We might as well just replace Red Light District with it's the Sex Village.
Well, they're honest.
But they went to the Sex Village, and we can attest to this. It gave me real. For anyone who's ever seen like Farewell Uncle Tom, which I would not suggest, or I say if you want to watch it just to better understand why human beings are terrible. But there's a part where the narrator, the pseudo narrator, because it's kind of avant-garde documentary, has sex with one of the slaves in that movie. It gave me like weird flashbacks to that. Because it was like, it just seemed like documentary guys who were like in the red light district who were just like, hey guys, let's shut off these cameras really quick, hey, these ladies have penises. Oh, we should totally put that in the movie, but I really dig that right now. So let's go and do that. Like, I'm just like, what's happening? And then the fiance, where it looked like they just pulled that off a tie, like an ad, like some sort of like East Asian ad. So he like walks up, stops, the camera it's super staged. The camera zooms in on him, and then the way he talked, it was so distorted. It sounded like a Jawa. That's what it sounded like to me. And then it's just like, I love my wife. Like, I want to get married to her, so I want her to have this operation. I'm like, what?
My takeaway from this whole Ladyboy segment is that Strom Thurmond should have been born in Sex Village.
And the least shocking...
He would have had a great time.
Yeah, and
he just would have had a great time. He would have had all the sex and all the fun and never would have had to pay anyone a fair wage.
Yeah. And we were concerned about how dangerous sex change operations might have been back in the 70s. Because it looked like it probably wasn't super great.
No.
Like,
I mean, look...
Or safe. You're like real scary.
Yeah, you're just on a table. Like, there's no laser or laparoscopic technology yet. It's just all knives and like...
Although that doctor was surprisingly like...
That was... I wanted to bring that up because the doctor they interviewed who does the sex change operations...
It was actually compassion, empathy. It was like,
He had a little bit of an ego on him, for sure. But he...
They called him the new Christ? Yeah. That was my favorite part.
He brings that up.
They call me the new Christ.
Some people call me the new Christ. It's like, oh, okay, buddy. But like the way he talked about it, he's like, well, I send them to a psychiatrist and I have to be convinced that they really want this operation and there's not some sort of weird desperation going on. That's an actual dissonance between who they are and their body
how they feel. Yeah.
And I'm like, this is 1974, and this is stuff that like the United States of America has barely wrapped their brains around.
Yeah, and we're still all fucked up about that.
Yeah, we just made gay marriage legal.
Yeah, so. So, and let alone just watching, just like, it's a man,
right?
Like,
and of course the film was just pointing at like they have boobs and dicks. Oh no!
Yeah, it like had that like. So it's made by a German film crew, and I know I think the re-release. I was actually trying to look it up, but I think so. It was made in 1974. That's right. It was made in 1974, and I think the English version of it was released later. I'm not quite sure.
Okay.
Now the sequel was released. There is a sequel, by the way. which I'm sure we'll get to.
We'll get to.
The sequel was released in 1985, but I'm not sure if it was the same because all the credits are German. It was a German documentary film crew that did this.
I'd love to see the "Where Are They Now" of that.
Right. I know the director. It's under a pseudonym. It's not his real name.
Oh, okay. Well, good for him because goddamn.
Yeah, right. It's like Alan Smithy. He's just like.
I also like how because these it's 1974, right? You have cameras with you have film. You have.
Yeah. I think it was shot on 16.
That's my wife in the kitchen making pretzels.
Oh yeah, we could totally hear that.
Yep.
So that's yep.
So we'll just talk over that. Anyway, they just these people had to have money behind this,
Yeah, I mean it was probably shot on 16, which at the time was cheap, but I'm sure like in Germany, particularly at the time in the 70s, getting like a grant from the government to go make a you probably remember that getting like in Italy and France and Germany, you could get government grants to make movies, not just documentaries, but narrative films too. I mean, that's how people like Truffaut and Godard and all these guys, like that's how many of them made movies.
I'd also like to point out that like the film crew often did a pretty good job. I think like there were a lot of good shots. There were a lot
like in the Sex Hotel where they just kept filming the mirror on the ceiling because they're just like, hey, check it out. We can just go from how about that horror?
There were like shots. There were like a lot of good racking shots where it was focusing on the action, and then it would rack to maybe some incense or a prop or something like that.
No, it was definitely it's the Germans.
They
know how to do it.
It wasn't one of those movies like Big Bunny Rustlers by the ICP or something where it's just like a backyard movie.
Yeah,
right?
like it goes to show you as racist and fucked up and terrible as a movie can be, the Germans still know how to make it. They're still technically very, very savvy.
I think all the awful racism
that was all post. It feels so post.
That's what I feel like.
It feels like the German when they went there. It was very. I mean, you never know what they were trying to go for. But they were with documentary film crews. It's like unless that guy was a part of editing it and constructing it and the sort of overall political narrative they were going for, doing these documentaries, they could have just been filming practices in Asia, which many of these are. It's like all the really racist stuff comes in the narration.
Well, with documentaries, you have thousands of hours of footage, even in the film days.
Yeah.
So they could have made a completely different movie if they weren't just like racist in post.
But I think the point of view is almost solely the narrators.
Sure.
Like it's whatever's written for the narration. Like even those sort of like the poetic sort of like it's trash but not trash, but like they were just filming them cleaning up after the festival, and then they're like the whole trash thing or killing the bat.
They sort of implied that like the trash they left behind is because they are trash.
No, that was exactly what they were. That's exactly what they were trying to say, because it like and that was with the liberal guy too.
Yeah, that was the liberal guy.
That was the liberal guy.
Ugh.
But it wasn't exactly what he was saying. It was the way they matched the picture to it that gave it that fucked up. Because he was just saying, like above the garbage of the world. Now they may have written that for him, and he was like, "Oh, okay, this is a totally standard, transcendental, religious, going above the trash of the world." I like that. That works. And then he did he know that they were going to cut them cleaning up trash and imply that the whole thing was essentially garbage? Who knows?
I do want to move on to though when the liberal guy called the little people wrestlers. There were.
Was that the liberal guy or was that the other guy?
I think that was the liberal guy.
Was it?
Yeah,
it might have been.
There were.
I like that we call him the liberal guy.
First of all, there were lady wrestlers, which I guess was shocking.
That wasn't so.
That just seemed. I mean, Ronda Rousey just lost her fight 2 days ago.
I mean,
where we are in time.
Yeah, so like they're beyond wrestling and actually like being badasses and kicking the shit out of each other.
It was WWE style, right? Totally fake. Yeah. It was just for the spectacle.
It just reminded me of Andy Kaufman stuff.
And then, but then all of a sudden they start playing this like silly like British comedy from the 60s
with the
music.
dwarves,
and then the little people come out and start wrestling, and then he calls them little monsters.
Oh, that was
He calls them little monsters, and then then the way it's edited and the way the music
it was like almost
just,
like Gilliam was or Monty Python was doing it, but like in not a cool way.
It was bad. I was a little bit offended.
Yeah, so I guess that was the shocking. So that was the shocking.
I was
part.
shocked. I was not Asian at that part though.
Yeah, because I guess that was beyond. It wasn't like an Asian shock thing. It was just, this is American. Really fucked up.
Yeah, it's just fucked up. It was not Asia.
Just fucked up.
Maybe the disappointment of this film, being that it was called Shocking Asia, is that I was either Asia'd or shocked. I was seldom shocked and Asia'd.
Maybe that's what they're trying to achieve with the sequel. Apparently, there's rumors that there's a third one too. I don't know if that actually exists.
Maybe that's just because so many people on Google have searched for the third one.
I don't know. Honestly, it doesn't seem that well known. It does. I mean, it's on.
Nothing about this is well, Max.
I know. I have a disease.
All right. So the only, I guess, the only part we've left out of the
sex
summary
museum
is the sex stuff, which mostly came from Japan.
Yeah, they did, and that's where I'm super bummed that the Hitler thing wasn't in it.
Yeah,
because that was in Japan too. Because Japan has a whole sub fetish.
We had fun though because there was the sex hotel, which when I first watched that, there was like a couple walking in, and I'm like, oh, a couple going into a hotel to have sex. Great, but then they proceeded to hop on a little gondola.
Yeah, that's right. That went down into the little bed chamber,
and it went the gondola, and this is a sex hotel. There's nobody else there except the fucking film crew, and they hop onto a gondola and descend into a sex hot tub.
Yeah.
Where they start doing stuff, and then they move to like this bed with rose petals on it, maybe
with a mirror above it, so you can watch yourself up. And then they added the camera system, which looked like an X-ray system that you see when you go to the dentist, where it's like this massive fucking.
It looked like a scene from Moonraker,
yeah,
where there's like this weird camera from the 70s with a TV, and then the dude reaches over with his foot and presses a button to make it start recording,
and you can be your own porno star. Yeah. Like, it's so weird.
And I wasn't shocked because it's just like, the 70s. Nobody had cell phones.
There was no iPhone, but man, that was like, and I noticed like my favorite part is the intention was good as a cameraman. The intention was good because they were filming the couple having sex, and then the screen, and then the camera filming them. So it's like, when you think about the sex hotel, it's like you can look up and see yourself fucking in the mirror that's on the ceiling.
Sure.
Or you can look over and look at the screen of the camera that's filming you.
Sure.
So there's like these sort of like layers of eroticism that you can use to. But like my favorite thing is the camera guy was filming them and the screen, but the screen was so shitty because it's like old school films that you couldn't tell what the fuck was happening on the screen. And like on the actual TV screen, it was all fuzzy and fucked up because it was a shitty camera. It's like
all I'm hearing is that they give you a lot of options to look anywhere but your partner's face.
It's clear that it's old like tube cameras from like the old days of television. So it's like the kind of shit that's all like fuzzy and looks like it's like the way black and white TV used to look like back in the 50s, like real shitty.
But I don't know. Again, not very shocked. It was a little shocking because it was probably expensive to go to the sex hotel and go down a gondola.
But what about the sex museum now?
The sex museum was nothing.
Oh, something about watching awkward Japanese men try to figure out women bodies. Oh, that was another thing. Unless we were talking over it, did they show the pee thing?
No, I don't remember.
God damn it! Did they edit a bunch of stuff out of this?
Might have been edited.
Because there was a part where there's like a little gun that they shoot at the clitoris on this thing, and it pees on the plexiglass in your face. Yeah. So there was. So
nothing not sexy about that.
Man, maybe I should just for a while I wanted to upload my VHS copy onto YouTube, but I saw that there was some on YouTube already, so I was like, oh, let's just watch that one.
Well, because with our time allotted, that pretty much gets us through the movie.
Yeah, I think that does. I think, although, come on, the weird like. The awkward Japanese guy trying to figure out how to sit down on the thing. That's like one of the best parts.
There was, you know how you know how you went to the supermarket when you were a kid, and then you'd put a quarter in the little horsey, and then the little horsey would move kind of around like and then the kid would sit on the horsey, and then the kid would look really excited, like this was fun for like 2 seconds, and then be like, "Mom, let's get the fuck out of here. This is stupid."
So this was with a very agile woman with her legs pulled back.
Yeah,
so that her legs
replace the horsey with a plastic, anatomically correct lady.
Yeah, with her legs pulled back, so it's just her ass, and then you would see like you would assume it would be like some sort of awkward, very like Pornhub-y position.
Well, yeah, the position was not a position that was useful for anything.
Well, it's the kind of position that you would see if like someone's laying on the ground and someone's standing over them, like some weird Kama Sutra position.
The only thing it was useful for was sitting on like a chair.
Yeah, but this was the funny part, was that the guy watching so the legs are pulled back like over the head, or not like behind the head, but in front of the head, kind of, that just so you have an idea of how it looks, so that if you sit back on it, it could still function as a low hanging chair, but it's a woman, or an outline of a woman, and so this guy awkwardly walks up to it, doesn't know what to do with it, and then sits on it front ways at first, and then just looks around confused, stands up, sits on the back, and then it starts rotating, and then he just leans back like it's a vibrating chair. It's like, I don't know, that part was hilarious to me, just watching this guy try to figure out how the chair worked.
Because it was a chair. Like, it wasn't a sex machine, it was a chair.
Yeah.
And so there was no way to have sex with this sex thing. It was just like, hey, let's sit in the chair.
Yeah.
But Max, I think we got to pitch this movie, because somehow
I want this movie narrated by Dom Draper.
Oh yeah. I think we're both in agreement. Don Draper,
because he would sell it. He would fucking sell racism hardcore.
Yeah.
Like, you would all just be like, I know I feel bad about this, but yeah. He would sell Asian racism hard.
Yeah. And it's this movie, I mean, Asian racism is totally alive and well today.
Sure,
it's just
absolutely.
People don't talk about it as much.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. Yeah.
But that this movie really hits a lot of the bullet points. Maybe not like driving. I don't know. I guess I don't know a lot of,
like, it hits this kind of. I think this kind of Asian racism is not. This kind of Asian racism is dead amongst anyone who is not a member of, who's 40 years and younger. I'd say this kind of racism is not around so much anymore. Now it's sort of like they're cheap, or it's like they're crowded, or I've heard things like that, like they're very cheap or things.
How else do you feel racist towards Asians?
I know, I fucking yeah,
But yeah, no.
But there's like different. There's like, it seems like people are racist against Asian tourists, and not quite so much racist against
the culture itself.
The culture itself, except until the direct link of tourists to culture, where they say like, because tourists are like this, therefore the culture's like this. So there's that connection. But I don't see people going around being like, obviously these people are barbers because they're putting like, I just don't see that shit doesn't happen anymore. And like fucking, we have Tumblr. Like, there's yaoi everywhere. Like, we're not fucked up.
Well, you can go to the mall and get your cheek pierced.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. Piercings aren't gonna freak you out. The sex stuff probably won't freak you out if you've watched anime at all or anything. It's
it's like it wasn't even as weird as any porn. Like, there's way weirder porn on like mainstream.
It's just for the 70s it was probably shocking.
Right.
So but
I think the Ladyboys might have been the most shocking aspect of the film.
Well, which is kind of funny how relevant that is today.
Right. Especially when the doctor talks
is super compassionate about that, or like empathetic at least.
Yeah.
I went, maybe not necessarily compassionate, but empathetic at least about it. But I think if you had to do something like that today, let me pitch a very racist documentary today. How would you sell this to the American people?
Well, it would have to have some tie into terrorism, I think.
Yeah, that's, actually, I'd say it wouldn't tie necessarily into terrorism. We'd have to exploit sort of South China Sea thing a little bit.
I think because, Muslim Islamic people are very much embedded in Asia, especially the Pacific Islands.
They are, except for you can't use that against the governments, because the governments are really, really racist against Muslims. Like it's
it's
like
bad.
the Asian countries.
Bad.
It's like bad. Like there's Buddhist. Like okay,
I'm just trying to sell this.
No, there are Buddhist revolutionaries right now that are like yes, peace on earth. Get the fucking Muslims out of here.
Buddhists?
Like yes, Buddhist. I mean, obviously, super radical right Buddhists and like I think this
radical right Buddhists,
which is insane to even say. But yeah, so there's like. Particularly in China, which is very anti-religion in general.
Okay.
They allow government-sanctioned Christian churches, and Islam is super, particularly like China's not having any of that shit because China's super controlling. They don't want any of that. So that's in Asian countries you can't use so much the Muslim effect on it because India is so much like they're like they've ever since the split between Pakistan and India. It's just India's very kind of anti-Muslim.
Okay. But aren't a lot of people in northern India Muslim?
There are Muslims in India, obviously, but I wouldn't say it's most of those people go to Pakistan. I mean, that was the split. India and Pakistan were a single nation until the British left and after Gandhi died, because Gandhi didn't want them to split, and then he negotiated the split as peaceful and then died, and now the two are ready to nuke each other.
So we're really having a trouble pitching this movie.
Yeah, because it doesn't fit into our current sort of narrative.
Yeah,
if we're going, because racism has a narrative. So like against like if you're going to pitch a racist documentary, which there aren't honestly many now. I mean, except for things that you would probably find. Like it seems like Republicans, like or not Republicans. That's unfair, but like. People that are supporting racist ideals are watching old documentaries to support their ideas. Like it doesn't seem like these things are coming out.
I mean, it could be pitched to Mr. Trump as a reason why we should.
Mr. Trump just wants to buy China. He just unless the only way you could pitch it as shocking Asia is be like. Show them in their business practices.
I really want Carson to quote this film in a debate.
Wow,
that would be good.
Ben Carson quote shocking Asia.
All right, our biases are showing.
I know we're real bad right now. Although I would love it. These fakers. Like he just talks about that about China. He's like. What about them inflating the yuan? He's like, these fakers.
All right. So here's my pitch.
Okay.
Is there's a lot of people. There's a few people who still aren't on the internet and can't look up and grew up in an era where they didn't really learn about Asia and
you're hitting a real small market.
They live on a mountain in rural Utah. And we need to get this film to them so that they can see how shocking Asia is. In fact, I know
by VHS or Laserdisc.
Shocking! Oh, Laserdisc! Come on.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they're rich.
Get your head out of your ass.
Yeah, they would be Laserdisc.
Laserdisc, and so we need to really make a film that shows just how awful and shocking is. So these people who don't have internet will still go out and vote.
Okay, that's good.
That's my pitch.
Here's my pitch. My pitch is we substitute the sex with yaoi. Or not yaoi, sorry. Yaoi's the boy-on-boy shit. We substitute the sex with lolicon.
I don't know what that is.
Lolicon's the like anime sort of like sexualizing cute little girls.
Oh, that sounds bad.
Yeah, we do that. That subculture in Japan. You literally spend the whole part on that, and then the first part you spend instead on body horror shit. You spend that entire part on China's human rights violations in regards to sort of more conservative political dissenters. So it would be like I mean they're pretty good about that, but I would say like well actually that wouldn't quite work.
We got really
because they usually only like because how else do you pitch this?
I don't know. It doesn't exist now. It's a bygone era.
And that's I think the beauty of it. In a fucked up way, it is a product made for its time. But at the same time, like it's just how do you bring the only thing we have to argue with China about is the South Chinese Sea and their like artificial inflation of their currency. Like it's just super boring shit. It's like shit you
super
can't.
Boring shit.
Yeah, it's like if we want to watch Freakonomics but with China. Like no one gives a fuck.
You should pay your people.
Yeah.
All right. Well, with that crash, I think we've covered.
I think we covered Shocking Asia.
I think we covered Shocking Asia.
Part 1.
Oh Jesus. Shocking Asia. Sometimes shocking.
Yep.
Usually pretty Asia.
Yep. I think that's the overall consensus.
All around, terrible post-production filmmaking.
Yeah. I think it's definitely worth a view if you've been drinking.
Yeah. Just to point at racism and life.
Some of the exploitation stuff is pretty great.
Yeah.
The sex stuff, I'm pretty sure most of that was staged in super exploitation. So I think anyone who's a fan of super bad 70s sex cinema, you'll love it.
If you that and if you have white guilt and want to pat yourself on the back for not being as bad as people used to be, go ahead and watch this film.
People were like 40, 50 years ago. I think, pat yourself on the back.
I would say would not recommend to watch yourself, but would recommend to watch with a couple friends.
This usually when you watch movies like this, like these kind of exploitation films or like documentaries, if you want to even call them that.
I'm sorry, these kind. You've watched too many of these. Max,
I have watched
way too many.
I've watched a lot. So unless you want to, these are the kinds of movies you watch with friends that you talk over and shit on, or you can watch with us and our commentary and with your friends, and you can all join in on shitting on it because that's really what makes these kind of movies fun. It's definitely not the kind of movie you want to watch by yourself.
Yeah, link below.
link below.
All right,
so yeah,
and then if you like what you saw, then like, subscribe, maybe check out our other stuff at Midnight Gardens. And with that, I'm Andy Steinhauer.
And I'm Max Weiland, and I'm just going to throw this in for all those B cinema fans. Next time we'll be doing Strike Commando. So for all you Red-Brown fans out there, and I know there's a few.
Red-Brown Frans, which is like a fan, but different.
There's no such thing as a Red-Brown fan. There's just Frans.
There's just Frans.
Because you have to be drunk to like Red-Brown. Reb the Brown.
All right. Sweet dreams with thoughts of Asia being shocking.
Sweet Asian dreams, Internet.